It's me. So welcome to THC Public Access TV, where we're going to talk about cannabis and all the rest of it. If you're tuning in, give us a call, and we'll talk about marijuana, why not? Okay, the switchboard's sparking up. So let's go with our first caller.
Quick question. How did this get made?
Okay, Barnaby, you're supposed to screen the calls. I'm not paying you to gold brick.
What? You're not paying me at all.
I said I'm not paying you to gold brick. I'm not paying you. I'm not. Talking about cannabis. Okay. Mitch and Moose Jaw, what's your question?
Hello? Am I on the air? So I'm a fan of indicas more than sativas.
All right, good call. Next caller.
No, wait. I bought a product that said it's part Ruderalis. Can you please tell me what I'm putting in my body?
Can I? Yes. But will I? Also yes. So, for the dozens of people watching at home, let's review the subspecies of Cannabis sativa. I thought sativa was a subspecies. Wrong! Well, not really wrong. All of cannabis is technically Cannabis sativa, but we have Cannabis sativa indica and Cannabis sativa sativa. What are the differences? Well, one is tall, thin, and sparse. The other one is short and bushy. Aside from this, there's also the colors. So one tends to be more deep green, the other one tends to be more spring green. And looking at the leaves, the leaflets on an indica tend to be more broad, but the leaflets on a sativa tend to be a lot more thin and needle-like. But the main reason people want to classify these subspecies is because of the effects. The indicas tend to be more sedating and relaxing, where the sativas tend to be more uplifting and energetic. And why would we find this? We find this because different subspecies tend to have different chemotypes. This means they contain different chemicals that cause these effects. While there are two different categories, there tends to be a lot of middle ground, and these ones are hybrids. This is why I prefer calling indicas indica dominant and sativas sativa dominant, because most of the strains that we'll find tend to be some variation of a hybrid, but those that are found more in the middle of the road are sometimes just designated as hybrids. Energizing, tall and sparse. Sedating, short and thick. And then the variations of hybrids that are in the middle. Indicas tend to grow in more cold and drier climates, where sativas tend to grow in more humid and hot climates. And now that we've touched on those two subspecies of cannabis, we can touch on the third subspecies of weed.
Wait, you called indica and sativa cannabis, but you called Ruderalis a weed. Are you sure about that?
Mitch, I might be. Ruderalis actually means weed-like, so I'm not wrong. But I'm not going to say weed-like, I'm going to say Ruderalis. Latin sounds fancier, but a little bit more respect on its name. It is still cannabis after all. Ruderalis tends to have a very strange leaflet pattern. Yeah. And if we were to compare it to the tall, thin, sparse sativa, or the short, thick, how I like my women, indica, Ruderalis is kind of the worst of both worlds. It's short, it's thin, and it's sparse. So you're not going to get a lot from it. It's kind of the neglected child in its family. And it tends to be low in THC, the active ingredient in marijuana. So most people don't grow it for potent buds. So what about this third child, this neglected child? Why do people even keep it around? Why couldn't it make it to real TV like its older brothers? Let me explain something to you. As the amount of light in the day gets shorter and shorter, and it approaches winter, something tells the cannabis it's getting older, it should put some more effort into reproducing. Sounds like my mother. At which point the cannabis will go to its flowering phase, we harvest it, we dry it, we cure it, we smoke it. But Ruderalis is a little bit different. Ruderalis doesn't care for rules and light cycles, it does what it wants. Like me. Not really. People will breed their strains with Ruderalis for one reason. It auto-flowers. Ruderalis doesn't regard the light cycle, so it spontaneously flowers. Because of this, you actually get a higher yield, because you'll get more harvests per year. Pure Ruderalis can be a little bit uncontrolled, hence why it's more weed-like. It keeps auto-flowering at random, it can kind of grow out of control. But again, Ruderalis has low THC, so people are not going to grow a pure Ruderalis. Not to smoke at least. But they want those auto-flowering genes. So some popular strains will have some Ruderalis genes in there, so they can have a greater harvest. And there you go. Ruderalis, short, thin, and sparse, low THC, but the reason it's bred into a lot of strains is because it auto-flowers. Doesn't take into account the light cycle, it spontaneously will produce bud. So you get a higher yield. And that's it. Well, thank you for tuning in and watching THC Public Access TV. So, Mitch and Moose Jaw, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. But one more thing. Your shirt sucks.
Screen the calls. Screen the calls, Barnaby. It's not hard. Yeah.